basically it's the story of how I continue my practice with declining mobility and things constantly changing in my body. So it's like practicing with fibro, but then on steroids. Have pelvis issues and have fibromyalgia, it's a whole other ballpark. So I just wanted to share a little bit of what it's like and what I'm doing and the few poses that I am able to keep up with. But the added complication when you add that to fibromyalgia and myofascial pain syndrome is that it flares up what's there. So I already have active trigger points in the region, so that loosening and movement of the pelvis upsets those muscles and trigger points. So I have to also manage the muscles and trigger points, which can get a bit difficult when there's certain stretches you are unable to do. And then of course, this all upsets your central nervous system, and so the fibromyalgia gets mad. So there's quite a lot going on. And so one of the best ways I found is to keep moving within whatever confines I have at the time. Now, the number one rule with the pelvis issues is to keep your legs together, move like a mermaid. So when you're rolling over in bed, when you're getting out of the car, you're moving together. You're not balancing on one leg or keeping an uneven weight distribution across your legs. Physiotherapy is a big help, and I get that really early on. The second I realize that the pelvis is going into trouble, I get referred into the hospital system. It's taken me a while. This is my fourth pregnancy, and I knew really early on where we were going, so I asked for a referral, but of course because of COVID it takes some time. So we'll see at what point I manage to get in and get some help, but that is a really big help to get that physical help with what's going on. Now, a couple of the poses that I'm doing, because there's not a lot I can do anymore, because you can't separate your legs, so that takes away a lot of the yoga. But a couple that I love and do all the time, and will do all the way to the end, and will probably even do in early labor, are puppy, cat and cow, and child's pose. And as I progress, I will do child's pose with the ball. So let's have a quick look at what they look like. So first, cat and cow. I mean, I've talked about this a lot. Cat and cow is one of my favorites. I do it all the time. But it doesn't look very much different when you're pregnant. But what I recommend when you're pregnant, if you are cleared for movement, is to start really early on hanging out in this all fours position. So you want your shoulders and your wrists in line, and your knees and your hips in line. Pretty forgiving. You don't have to be too exact. But just hanging out in all fours, getting used to letting your belly relax, growing that strength as your belly grows, so that in the third trimester and early delivery it's a comfort and not something that's a strain. Plus, just wriggling around and releasing tight muscles is pretty nice too. Then you can do your actual cat and cow. So when you're inhaling, really release that belly and looking up if that's comfortable. Exhale. It is very nice. Now, when you, if you practice this the whole way through, this is a release for your belly, and so it feels nice. But I don't think you should just suddenly get on all fours when you're already like late into your third trimester. It can be a bit straining for your abdominal muscles in your back. So just be mindful of that. The next one is puppy. Puppy, because I stopped doing downward facing dog quite early. It didn't feel comfortable to me. You can hear now I get quite breathless because everything is pushing into my diaphragm. So I tried to really feel what's going on, and when I was doing downward dog, I was feeling a little bit breathless and not so comfortable. But of course, downward facing dog, if it's comfortable, is actually a really great one for your back and actually a good strengthener for your whole body. But puppy is a good one for releasing tension in your lower back. So if you start on all fours, and then first just come down on your forearms, you can see how it creates space now in your pelvis and your back. And then you can come all the way into extended puppy if you like. Or you can hang out here. Whatever feels good. I mean, as you get further along in your pregnancy, that's probably going to feel good, especially if your baby is not in an ideal position. And then the third thing is my cat and cow pose, which I use with the Swiss ball. So the point of the Swiss ball is just that it's creating space for you. So it can get a bit uncomfortable, and when you have pelvis issues, you get to a point where you can't open your knees wide enough to fit your belly in between. So this is the little trick to get around that. So kneeling with your knees however far apart is comfortable, and then you just literally walk yourself forward and find a place of comfort. And you can rock side to side. And you can see how it's a nice release for your lower back. You can also actually use your Swiss ball in the later stages of pregnancy and in early delivery. I used my Swiss ball in early labor a lot. I leaned over it quite a lot. I literally would lean over like this and just kind of wriggle around. It is a great comfort. So those are my key poses that I'm doing. Yeah, because you notice that there's not a lot left by the time you lose that mobility with your pelvis, and not being able to open your legs does minimize what you can do. However, you can always practice your deep breathing, and I think it's a really great idea to do that regularly, especially as things are pushing on your diaphragm. And you can always do your meditation. So I do my Yoga Nidra guided meditation every single afternoon. I get exhausted by the time we get to lunchtime. I do a 30 to 45 minute Yoga Nidra, and I get through that afternoon and evening way better than I ever did before. So it's a big deal, and it makes a big difference for me. You can also use the guided meditation Yoga Nidra to get to sleep in the evening, or after work for a rest, or in the middle of the night if you're stuck awake with pain insomnia. So there are so many benefits. So the tools of yoga don't stop just because your mobility is compromised. And you can also always do side lying savasana as well. So you can always cobble together a little class if you want to, but all these individual tools can help you. So I hope that helped give you some ideas of things that you can do as well. Of course, you will work with your physical therapist, your medical team, to know what you are allowed to do, but also listen to your body. So some of those exercises that they do give you may not fit for you. So there were a couple of exercises that were suggested to me that just were not great for me. They hurt, they were not comfortable, and so I didn't do those ones. So one of the other benefits of yoga is being able to listen to your body and sort of say, does this feel right for me? Should I do it? And so that's another great tool. I hope that helped. If you at the stage where you need to kind of start moderating a little bit, then the Pregnancy and Pelvis Friendly series is for you. So I recommend that you check that out.